Okay, we're going to go through and step by step create a wall that you can use to frame your shed from. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to think about how my walls are going to be laid out in floor plan view. So my shed is 10 feet by 8 feet. So I'm going to start out by drawing lines. Before I do that, I have to set up my units. To do the units, I can type in units, enter, and I simply change it to architectural and say OK. Now I'm ready to draw some lines that are 8 feet long, 10 feet long. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line that's 8 feet long. So I'm going to put my ortho on by hitting F8. I could also come down here and find ortho and click on that. I'm not going to type in F8. I'm going to hit the F8 key on the keyboard. And I'm going to point it the direction I want it to go. In this case, down. I will say up. And I'll type 8 foot symbol. Hit enter and enter again. Right now you're going to run into the problem where you can't get the whole thing on the screen and it won't let you zoom out anymore. So all you have to do to alleviate that is come over here to your zoom bar and zoom out and click it until those things go away. And my computer locked up. Okay, so I'm going to move this away from there just so I can see it a little bit better. Just use my move command. And I'm going to zoom out a couple more times. Alright, now I have an 8-foot line there. I'm going to draw a line. I can either pick it here or type in L, enter. And I'm going to choose the end point of that line. If these O snaps aren't coming up on your screen, you can hit F3 to turn them on and off. I'm going to click on the end point of the line. I'm going to point it the direction I want it to go. I'm going to type in 10 feet. And to continue that, turn my ortho back on. I'm going to point down 8 feet. And then I'm going to point over this way 10 feet. Hit my space bar to get out of the command. Hit the same thing as hitting enter. At this point I want to use my offset command. That's this button right here. Or I can type in O, enter. The first thing it asks me for with my offset command is my offset distance. So I have to think here for a second. How thick, first of all, what am I drawing? I'm drawing a top view of my walls. The top view of my walls is 3.5 inches wide. So I'm going to offset 3.5. I'm going to select that wall and point inward and left click. Do the same thing here, same thing there. And now I have the start of my walls laid out in plan view. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my trim command. I could also come up here and select it from here. It asks me for my cutting edges. So I'm going to select that one and that one. I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to come in and get rid of the parts of the lines that I don't want. I'm clicking on the end of the line that I don't want there anymore. So this right here would be one wall. This is my plan view. Now I want to draw this in elevation view so that I can actually lay it down and draw this and start building my wall from this. So I'm going to copy the bottom line. I'm going to make sure my ortho's on, and I'm just going to copy it down here. At this point I'm going to use my offset command again. And basically what I want to do is I want to offset the thickness of my sole plate, the bottom plate of the wall. 2x4 was 3.5 inches wide, then the thickness is going to be 1.5 inches. So for my offset distance, I put 1.5, select the object, I offset it up, and then I can just draw, right now it's just 2 lines. If I draw the ends on those 2 lines, connecting them, now I have a plate. The next thing I'm going to do is draw my stud. I'm going to start on the left hand side and go up. So again, I use my O-snaps, I start at that corner, I point in the direction I want to go, and I type in 92.625 inches. That's 92 5/8 for my pre-cut stud length. Then I'm going to offset it 1.5 inches for the thickness of my stud. And on top of this, I could do this a lot of different ways. I'm going to show you a different way than the first time I showed you. At this point, I'm going to use my mirror command. So I could choose mirror right there, or I could type MI enter. I want to mirror my bottom plate, my sole plate. Whenever it asks me for my mirror line, first point of my mirror line, I want to choose the midpoint of this. Now it's not popping up automatically, so I could come down here and I could choose midpoint. I could add it, and now I'm going to choose the midpoint of this line as my first point. I'm going to draw a line over this direction, which is going to put that up there. And ask me, do I want to erase the source objects? No, I don't, so I'm just going to leave that as no. Hit enter, and now I have my top plate. At this point, I could do a lot of different things. I could copy. I'm going to select the stud that I want to copy. I hit enter. I come out here somewhere and I put my cursor down and I tell it how far I want to copy. I want the studs to be spaced at 16 inches. So I'm going to type in 16, enter. I could keep going. I could type in 32, 48, 64, 80. Or I could do it the hard way. I could copy each one individually. Keep copying it 16 inches over. The other option I have is to use the array command, which would be right here, a rectangular array. So you can play around with that. And right now it looks like I'm going to have to add another one in at the very end. Okay, so just looking at this, I also know, and I'm going to move this whole thing a little bit closer. It's still aligned with that one. I have my ortho on. At this point, I know that I need to add a corner stud in right here. I'll just do that in a different color so that you can see what's going on. And we'll make it this orange color. Right here, I want to have my perpendicular O-snap set also. So I'm going to draw a stud right here, just so that I know what I'm doing. And on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. So the next thing is I could draw a line right there just to show where the next stud's going to be. I could copy this one and do that. So I just copied it from that endpoint to that endpoint, or that intersection. And if I do the same thing here, that's exactly how I would have to have it for my corners. Now I can do this a little bit differently. Since I have another stud here, just for that corner, what I could do is I could get rid of all these ones, because that's an awful lot of studs there in that corner. And now, if I copy these over, 16, 32, 48, 64, 80, 96. Don't know what the next one is, so I'm just going to copy 16 inches. And then I'm going to copy one to the end. So at this point I have a wall laid out, and this one is not lined up, so I'm just going to move that over from the end point of that to the perpendicular. And all of these are spaced 16 inches apart except for this one, which is just a little bit less, which would be 15 and a half, which is going to be fine. So doing it this way, I had one less stud. At this point, I could print this out and I could build this wall.